In our last episode, we found an immeasurable stockpile of Mark 28 nuclear bombs at Sentinel Site Prescott deep in the glowing sea. Exactly what we needed to rearm Liberty Prime. Paladin Danse stayed behind to oversee the transfer of the bombs back to the Boston airport, and after checking in with Proctor Ingram, we learned that Maxson wanted to speak with us aboard the Prydwen. Arriving by Vertibird, we can head inside to find him on the command deck. He is probably just thrilled with our work and wants to thank us personally.
Is there anything you wish to tell me, Knight?
Am I being accused of something?
That remains to be seen.
I'm not sure I understand what you're talking about.
I find your ignorance awfully convenient.
I'm not sure I like how you're asking me that.
And I don't appreciate being betrayed by my own soldiers.
Not at all. I have nothing to hide.
I find that very hard to believe. Proctor Quinlan completed the decryption of the data you retrieved from the Institute. A portion of his findings included a list of synths that went missing or escaped from their underground facility. After careful analysis of the information, we've discovered something unprecedented. Paladin Danse is a perfect match for one of the synths on that list.
Is Quinlan absolutely certain?
Proctor Quinlan validated the information numerous times. I can assure you, his results are accurate.
There has to be some kind of mistake.
In my experience, Proctor Quinlan doesn't make mistakes.
The data must be faulty.
The findings have been validated by multiple sources. Quinlan wouldn't have brought this to me if he wasn't 100% certain of the results.
That's impossible.
I'm afraid not. The evidence is quite damning. The data you brought back included a record of each subject's DNA. We keep the same information on file for all of our soldiers. Paladin Danse's DNA is a perfect match for a synth they called M797. To make matters worse, he's gone AWOL, disappeared without a trace. His sudden absence simply reinforces our conclusion that M797 and Paladin Danse are one and the same. I'm finding it difficult to believe that he never confided in you, and then swore you to secrecy.
Here we find 4 orange charisma checks. First we'll fail them, then we'll pass them.
After everything I've achieved, why would I jeopardize my position here?
Because you never expected this information to see the light of day. Now tell me the truth before I have you thrown over the side of the Prydwen. You make a fair point. Apparently I've misjudged you.
Had he told me, it would have been my duty to report it immediately.
Don't insult my intelligence. You fought side by side with Danse. I find it impossible to believe you're ignorant of his identity. Apparently, I've misjudged you.
After everything I've done for the Brotherhood, you have some nerve accusing me of lying.
How dare you speak to me in that tone of voice? I'm growing tired of your lies. Tell me everything you know before it's too late. Your outburst leads me to believe I've misjudged you.
You have to believe me. He never told me he was a synth.
I suspect you're saying exactly what I want to hear, Knight. Do you wish to try again? Apparently, I've misjudged you.
But ultimately, there's no way to fail this. Even though all of these are orange charisma checks, if we fail 2, one of them becomes a regular dialogue option, making it impossible to fail.
Has it ever occurred to you that Danse might not be aware of his own identity?
No, it had not. However, even if that were true, Danse still represents a clear and present danger to us all. Your sincerity in this matter has been rather surprising. Apparently, I've misjudged you, which means I've decided to take you at your word. However, that doesn't absolve you of your duty. Danse is a synth. He represents everything we hate, a monstrosity of technology. Our mission in the Commonwealth is clear. The Institute and its creations need to be destroyed in order to preserve our future, which leaves me facing the most difficult order I've ever given. I'm ordering you to hunt down Danse and execute him.
Isn't there some other way?
Absolutely not. My decision is final.
I won't do it. Danse deserves a chance to explain himself.
You will do it. This is not up for judgment or debate. I'm giving you a direct order, Knight, and I expect you to follow it without question.
I don't know what to say.
This isn't a request that requires an answer, Knight. This is a direct order.
With pleasure. I'll make him pay for lying to us.
I appreciate your cooperation. Listen, I'm not blind to the fact that Danse was your mentor, and this isn't an easy burden to bear. But if we're to remain strong, we can't afford to make exceptions. even when it means executing one of our own. Find Proctor Quinlan. He's been analyzing the data and should be able to provide you with a starting point. And Knight, there's a promotion for you riding on the results of these orders. So don't disappoint me. You're dismissed.
Paladin Danse is a synth? What? But wait a minute. With this news, suddenly things begin to make sense. When we explored the Prydwen, we read on Scribe Naraya's terminal that Proctor Quinlan gave her a DNA sample to test. He was confused by the results and had her check it over and over again. And each time she came back saying that her results were accurate, that it belonged to Paladin Danse. Now we know what he was doing. He was comparing Dance's DNA sample with the sample we collected using the network scanner in the Institute. Examining Maxson's terminal, we can search for any updates, and sure enough, we find a new update from Kells, Paladin Danse. From Lancer Captain Kells to Elder Maxson. Sir, I've placed our entire division on alert as you've requested. I'm instructing our soldiers to shoot Danse on sight, rather than trying to capture or contain him for study. I feel that it's important we use his execution to set an example, not only to our own brothers and sisters, but to the Institute as well. While I'm aware that certain members of the Brotherhood were quite close to Danse, I'm certain you'll agree that we can't afford to allow him to remain alive, quote-unquote. In his time with the Brotherhood of Steel, he's amassed quite a bit of intelligence on our operations, and we have to stop him before the Institute throws the switch to bring him home. And there is that. We learned from our time in the Institute that every synth can be shut down merely by hearing a spoken phrase. What would happen if the Institute ever found out where Danse was and sought to reclaim him? Moving into Captain Kell's room, we find a new entry in his personal mail from Elder Maxson to Lancer Captain Kells. Captain, I've received credible information that we have a traitor among us. It brings me no pleasure to inform you that Paladin Danse is an Institute synth. I've had Proctor Quinlan verify the data numerous times, so I can assure you that it's accurate. We need to handle this situation carefully, Kells. Paladin Danse was well liked, and this news is certain to create a panic. We do not want this incident to touch off a series of false reports and assumptions that other synths have infiltrated our ranks. The ensuing paranoia could result in a catastrophic breakdown of order and our eventual defeat at the hands of the Institute. Placing an operative among us was a brilliant move on the Institute's part, and we can't afford to underestimate them in the future. When you're ready, I want you to inform the crew and then take the necessary steps to hunt Danse down. It's true. Maxson really hasn't considered the possibility that Danse doesn't know that he's a synth. He can't comprehend the idea that a synth might have free will, which means in his mind the only alternative is that each and every synth is working for the Institute. We find Quinlan in his quarters. Examining his terminal, we find two new updates. The first is from Elder Maxson. From Elder Maxson to Proctor Quinlan. The information you've discovered regarding Danse is of a highly sensitive nature, and we need to proceed carefully. Until I make a formal announcement to the crew, I need you to keep this quiet. I'll have Kells raise the alert to all departments shortly. In the meantime, I need every scrap of data your department can come up with regarding possible locations that Danse may have gone. And the next one is from Captain Kells to the entire crew. This is a priority alert. Paladin Danse has been identified as an Institute synth by our command staff. Its current whereabouts are unknown. If it's spotted, terminate immediately. Do not attempt to approach. If you are unable to engage, report Dance's last known location to any duty officer as soon as possible so we can track its movement. This attempt by the Institute to tear the Brotherhood down from the inside has failed. Despite their treachery, we will preserve and emerge victorious. Ad Victoriam, brothers and sisters. Backing out, we can talk to Proctor Quinlan.
Oh, Knight. I was told you were coming. Sorry about this business with Danse.
What do you know about this situation?
While I was decrypting all of the data you acquired from within the Institute, I came across a list. It appears that the Institute keeps exemplary records where their synths are concerned. including logging those that were reported missing. As I was perusing this list, I came across an image of Danse under the heading M797. A quick DNA comparison with our own records told the rest of the tale. I'm certain this comes as quite a shock to you, Knight. I'm sorry.
I don't want to talk about it.
I understand. On to your orders, then.
I don't need apologies. I need to know where he is.
Yes, you're quite right.
He'll be missed.
Doubtful. I wouldn't miss a synth any sooner than I'd miss a transistor radio. I was merely sorry that you'd been duped. No matter. I've been poring over Dance's duty reports, and unfortunately, I haven't found any concrete information. As you're well aware, Danse had intimate knowledge of the Commonwealth, and I'm afraid he could be seeking refuge anywhere. I think our best approach would be to identify every location he's ever visited and eliminate them as possibilities one by one. You may want to get comfortable. This could take quite a bit of...
What the hell is this crap about Danse being a synth?
I assume your outburst was a reference to some doubt regarding Dance's identity. I can assure you that my findings are quite accurate, Scribe.
So he sets Danse up, and then you knock him down. Is that it?
How did you hear about it?
There are no secrets in the Brotherhood. Maxson's made it clear that we're to locate Paladin Danse, and if we find him, report his location to you. That can only mean you've been sent to hunt him down.
I don't have time to discuss it right now, Halen.
Why? In too much of a rush to pull the trigger?
I don't like your tone, Halen.
My tone. Who cares about protocol at a time like this?
Orders are orders.
Orders are orders? That's all you have to say? I can't believe that after everything Paladin Danse did for you, you're just gonna turn your back on him like this. There's obviously been a mistake, and we need to get to the bottom of it.
Scribe Halen, you're addressing a senior officer, and you will show him the respect that he's due. Or so help me, I'll have you brought up on charges. Now, unless you're here with information that can assist us, I suggest you return to the police station immediately.
Of course. My apologies, Proctor. I believe I have some information that's relevant to the search.
Very well then. Would you care to enlighten us? Or do we have to wait until you decide to grace us with your knowledge?
Knight, if you'd accompany me to the flight deck, I'd like to show you the information I've compiled firsthand. I've stored the data on my Vertibird gunship's computer.
Change of heart, Halen?
Just following orders, sir.
At this point, I'll take all the help I can get.
Very good, sir.
This better not be a waste of my time.
Of course not, sir.
I'll take anything that gets me closer to finding Danse.
Yes, sir.
Proceed, Knight. I'll continue doing my research here.
If you'll follow me, sir.
With that, Scribe Halen leads us away. I think the most interesting thing we learn about that exchange is that Paladin Danse was found in a list of Institute synths that have gone missing. Synths where the Institute doesn't know where they are. Following Scribe Halen, she doesn't go to the flight deck. Instead, she turns right and heads downstairs. She makes her way to the recreational section of the Prydwen, and here she stops to talk.
Excuse me, Scribe Halen.
Do you actually plan on killing Paladin Danse?
Aren't you supposed to tell me where Danse went?
Yes, and I promise I will. But before I do, I need you to listen to what I have to say.
I haven't decided yet.
Well, before you do, I need you to listen to what I have to say.
I'm following orders. You should do the same.
I know I should, but before you head out, I need you to listen to what I have to say.
That's a risky question, Halen.
I know it is, but I need you to listen to me for a minute. I've known Paladin Danse ever since I was an initiate. He trained me, showed me the ropes, and when I screwed up, he taught me to dust myself off and move on. He's earned my admiration, my respect, and my friendship. I don't care what Quinlan's report says. I don't care if he's a machine or not. He's still Danse.
Why are you telling me all of this?
Because someone has to before you rush off and carry out Maxson's orders without thinking about what you're doing.
Get to the point.
I'm trying. This is difficult.
You're sympathizing with a traitor.
That's exactly my point.
That's a bold statement.
It's more than just a statement. It's a plea. Danse is the most selfless person I've ever met. I've watched him risk his own life based on nothing more than principle alone. That's why I'm asking you, not just as a member of the Brotherhood, but as a human being. Give him a chance. Let him tell his side of the story. If you're not convinced by what he says, or somehow he's become truly lost to us, then you do what you have to do.
You'd have me disobey orders?
Can't you put the Brotherhood aside, even for a moment? Am I really asking that much? Just talk to him. Find out what's going on inside his head. Then weigh your options. If you still think he intends to bring harm to the Brotherhood of Steel, you do what you have to do. But if you see a glimmer of mercy or humanity behind his eyes, I beg you, let him run.
This whole thing has me confused. Let me find him, and then I'll decide.
That's not what I was hoping you'd say. But I guess I'll just have to trust that when the time comes, you'll do the right thing.
I'm not making any promises.
You don't have to promise me anything. Just do what you feel is right. But if I know you like I think I do, I'm betting you'll listen to what he has to say before you pull that trigger.
All right, I'll hear him out.
That's all that I ask. I'll just have to trust that when the time comes, you'll do the right thing. Before the Prydwen showed up, Danse had me identify a fallback point if we ever lost the police station. It was Listening Post Bravo, an old pre-war U.S. military outpost on the northern frontier of the Commonwealth. It's isolated, and we're the only ones that knew about it. So, there's a good chance that's where he's headed. Just be careful. There's no telling what state of mind he's in right now, or if he trusts any of us at all.
Listening Post Bravo. Right. We find Listening Post Bravo a ways north of the National Guard training yard. Following the road north eventually, we find a beaten path off to the right. This leads us to a vertibird landing pad, and as we approach the stairs attached to the pad, we come under fire from machine gun turrets. After destroying the turrets, we can approach the listening post. Heading inside, we find it deserted. There's an advanced locked security gate, and behind it, a tool case, a fusion core, and a box of ammo. There's purified water on the desk, but the terminal is blasted out. A skeleton lies on the floor beneath the terminal, and behind him is a wall terminal that we can use to power up the nearby elevator. Taking the elevator down, we arrive in a bunker and immediately come under fire from a protectron.
Intruder. I told it's right there. Kill.
With the protectrons and the turrets dead, we can peer out from behind these boxes. We see a window against the northern wall, and on the other side of the window is Paladin Danse. Before finding our way to him, we can explore this small room. We find a couple of desks and containers filled with randomized loot, a couple of workbenches, and a terminal with really interesting lore. Listening Post Bravo has a fascinating pre-war story, but we don't have time to cover it here. Instead, I covered it in a dedicated video that you can watch here. Returning to the window, we hear that Paladin Danse is just mumbling to himself.
Look at our strength and our numbers. The Commonwealth is as good as ours.
Oh God, he's repeating Brotherhood catchphrases. He almost sounds like a robot. The door leading to this room is broken, and the doorway is blocked in. We could peer through it to execute Danse.
Damn it! Found them! Ad Victorium, brother.
Job done. We now just have to collect his holotags. But of course, that's the short way to end this quest. Instead of killing him outright, we can do what Scribe Halen suggested and hear him out first. Turning right, we find a hole in the concrete wall. This leads to a small cave that's partially flooded. In the water, we find bits of Brahmin meat, a Brahmin skull, and the remains of a Yaogwai. How exactly did a Yaoguai and a Brahmin take the elevator to get down here? We find human bones in the mud and entire skeletons submerged in the water. And to the northwest, we find a gap in the dirt that leads to Danse. As soon as we enter the room, Danse approaches us.
I'm not surprised Maxson sent you. He never liked to do the dirty work himself.
Why didn't you tell me, Danse?
Because I didn't know.
I don't understand what's going on, Danse.
Believe me, this is more of a shock to me than it is to you.
He told me you're a synth, Danse. That makes you a traitor.
And he's right. But the news is just as much of a shock to me. I didn't know, I swear.
I wish you would have told me the truth, Danse.
I might have, if I'd known what I was. Until Quinlan got that list decoded, I thought synths were the enemy. I never expected to hear that I was one of them. If it wasn't for Halen, we wouldn't even be having this conversation. So, what are your orders? Does Maxson even want me alive?
How could you not know that you're a synth?
It doesn't make sense to me either. It just feels like a cruel joke. I remember being a child. I remember growing up in the ruins, everything. I suppose they programmed that all into my head. I mean, I feel like I've been in control of my entire life, making my own decisions and determining my own fate. Even though the proof states I'm a synth, I don't feel any different than I did before. I still feel like a human. Why does any of this even matter to you? You're obviously here to carry out Maxson's orders. Does he even want me alive?
No, but I don't know what to do.
Seems obvious to me.
Of course not. Synths are the enemy, remember?
All too well.
No, but I'm hoping there's a way out.
Don't be ridiculous. Look, I'm not blind to the fact that we're good friends, and this must be very difficult for you. I wish Maxson had sent someone else, but that doesn't change a thing. I'm a synth, which means I need to be destroyed. If you disobey your orders, you're not only betraying Maxson, you're betraying the Brotherhood of Steel and everything it stands for. Synths can't be trusted. Machines were never meant to make their own decisions. They need to be controlled. Technology that's run amok is what brought the entire world to its knees, and humanity to the brink of extinction. I need to be the example, not the exception.
If you really feel that way, why did you run in the first place?
The moment I learned the truth, I knew my life was in danger. I'm a soldier, so self-preservation kicked in. I needed to regroup and assess the situation. Once I got here, and I had some time to think, I realized I'd just made everything worse. I should have stayed on the Prydwen and accepted the inevitable. Like I said, I need to be the example, not the exception.
I can't tell if that's the human or the machine talking.
The fact that you're confused only strengthens my decision.
I see you've calculated all the variables, just like a machine.
Your anger simply proves my point.
The empathy that you're showing me, it's a human emotion.
I appreciate what you're trying to do, but I've made my decision. I'm ready to accept the consequences of my true identity. Maxson's ordered you to execute me, and I'll be damned if I'm going to stand in your way.
Is there any way out of this?
We both know that this is the right thing to do. If you refuse to follow Maxson's orders, you're undermining everything the Brotherhood stands for. I can't allow that to happen on my account.
At this point, we have 3 options, each with a different outcome.
If you're so eager to die, then do it yourself.
If you leave here without completing your orders, then I'll carry them out for you. Maxson's obviously testing you, and I refuse to be the one who causes you to fail.
This dumps us back into the same dialogue tree, leaving us with 2 remaining options, but we could always back out of it. If we do...
I'm warning you, if you leave here without following your orders, I'll be forced to carry them out. Is that what you want?
We can call his bluff, turn around, and walk away. He stays in the room, unmoving, and we can move to the elevator to take it topside. After reaching the top, just as we step out of the elevator, we remember that we need Paladin Danse's holotags. We can't return to the Prydwen without them. So heading back to the elevator and taking it all the way down, we peer through the window and see him lying on the ground. Racing into the room, we discover that he really did it. He he killed himself. And on a console nearby is his final entry.
As the minutes tick by, and I stare at the walls of this godforsaken place, I'm still trying to cope with the reality that I am a living lie. My identity as Paladin Danse is nothing but a memory now. Everything I held dear, everything I've ever believed in, is completely gone. I've spent far too long wondering why this happened to me. But the truth is, it doesn't matter. I'm a synth, which means I am a freak of nature, a perversion of science, and an example of where mankind has gone wrong. For the benefit of humanity, I need to die. Not because I'm cowardly or despondent, but because it's the human thing to do. This is Danse, former Paladin of the Brotherhood of Steel. Signing off.
This leaves the remaining two options, one of which is to agree to do it.
If it needs to be done, then so be it.
I've never been prouder of you than I am right now, brother. It's been a pleasure serving with you.
With that, Paladin Danse puts his hands behind his back and kneels to the ground. If we hesitate, if we don't take the shot...
What the hell are you waiting for?
You're willing to die for Maxson?
Whether I agree with Maxson or not, the Brotherhood has to remain firm and united. If I begin questioning orders, who's to say others won't do the same? I refuse to be responsible for that, even if it means I need to die.
This doesn't seem right.
It doesn't matter.
Shut up. I'm trying to think.
Look, I understand what you're going through.
I don't know what to do.
I can't decide for you, but I can offer you this bit of advice. Don't let your feelings about me cloud your judgment. This decision is bigger than both of us. It's about the future of the Brotherhood. We must stay on mission, no matter the cost. Now, do it.
Again, we find ourselves with the same two choices. We could go through with it.
For the Brotherhood.
Ad Victorium, brother.
However he dies, either by his own hand or by ours, on his body we find Danse's holotags, which we need to return to Elder Maxson. We find a fusion core and a synth component. He really was a synth. We also find the Brotherhood of Steel hood. It's a one-of-a-kind head slot armor item. We've seen Danse wear it throughout the entire game. As a companion, we could have traded with him to take it off his inventory if we wanted to. But even in death, we don't lose it. It only grants 2 energy resistance, but it is one of a kind. Behind his body is an end-of-dungeon steamer trunk. And of course, if we kill him, he doesn't leave behind a suicide note. With the holotags in hand, we can head back to the Prydwen, board the command deck, and talk with Elder Maxson.
Report, Knight. Have you handled the situation with Paladin Danse?
Do you want his holotags as proof?
That won't be necessary. Perhaps you should keep them as a reminder of your lapse in vigilance.
I did what had to be done.
That's all I've ever asked of you.
The traitor's been executed, Elder.
Excellent work.
He's no longer a threat to the Brotherhood.
Well done. Of course, Danse's execution creates a missing link in our chain of command. That traitor held quite an important position with us. I'm certain that you'll make a fine replacement. His quarters and all his possessions are now yours, including his personal suit of power armor. Congratulations, Paladin.
Body's not even cold, and you're already dividing the loot?
To the victor go the spoils. Being a part of the Brotherhood, you should learn to appreciate that sentiment.
I'm honored, Elder.
You've earned it by your own actions.
Where did Danse keep his power armor?
I'm certain you can find it in Proctor Ingram's section of the ship. Wear it with pride.
I won't disappoint you, Elder.
Had I even a single doubt in my mind, I wouldn't have awarded you the promotion. Just be aware that a Brotherhood Paladin is expected to be a symbol of integrity to our brothers and sisters. I trust you won't disappoint them, or disappoint me. In any event, we still have the Institute to contend with, and a lot of work to do before we can begin our final assault. While the finishing touches are being put onto Liberty Prime, Captain Kells has identified a potential threat to our operations. Report to him immediately for your next assignment. Ad Victoriam, Paladin.
With that, we complete Blind Betrayal, and we can now enjoy the spoils. Heading up to the Prydwen main deck, we discover that the room that was previously locked and inaccessible is now open to us, and it's called Prydwen Quarters. These were Danse's private quarters, and we see that Maxson hasn't cleaned up the place before giving it to us. It's exactly as Danse left it. But Danse was a simple man. There's not a lot here. Plenty of lockers, duffel bags, containers filled with ammo. But Danse clearly liked to drink. We find a box filled with empty liquor bottles on the ground. He had Buff out as well. Guess he wasn't afraid of roiding up a bit. And he apparently had a taste for dog food. We find 3 cans on his safe. Oddly enough, there's a dog bowl filled with bloatfly meat here, which of course would be perfect for dog meat, but Danse didn't have a dog, so not exactly sure why this is here. This is now our player home aboard the Prydwen, and we can use it as we see fit. To find Danse's suit of power armor, we head to Proctor Ingram's workshop aboard the Prydwen. Leaving our suit in Bay 3, we find Danse's suit in Bay 1.
Your promotion was well-deserved, Paladin.
It's a T-60 set of power armor, but it's Mark V, painted with Brotherhood of Steel Paladin colors. The Brotherhood of Steel Paladin paint scheme is now open to us, and we can paint any other T-60 suit that we have in Paladin colors. I wanted to see how Scribe Halen would have reacted to this, and so I traveled to the Cambridge police station. However, she wasn't there. I think she was still traveling back from our meeting aboard the Prydwen, and it was a long walk for her. However, we can use the opportunity to explore her personal terminal, and she has a new entry at the very end. Paladin Danse is dead. I know he was a synth, and I know it's my sworn duty to exterminate their kind, but the whole incident is leaving a sick pit in my stomach. By executing him, I think we've made a terrible mistake. Whether he was a machine or not, he was still Paladin Danse, and his contribution to our cause should never be forgotten. I just hope that someday Maxson will realize he made the wrong choice, and at least give Danse the proper memorial that he's due. We learn from Danse's companion affinity dialogue that he and Halen were actually really close, not in a romantic way, but more like siblings. We'll cover the dialogue completely when I do my profile video on Danse, but essentially she really leaned on him emotionally as she was developing as an initiate. And he didn't humiliate her or degrade her, he supported her and instructed her, giving her his wisdom, giving her exactly what she needed to be strong in the face of adversity. After killing Danse, I finally tracked Scribe Halen down to see if she had anything to say, but in my game, all she wanted to do was give me her Radiant quest over and over again, which is weird because I have vivid memories doing this many years ago for the first time of Scribe Halen being extremely cold towards the sole survivor if we choose to kill Paladin Danse. Even after completing the Radiant quest and coming back, she just offered me the Radiant quest again, so I'm not exactly sure what went on in this particular game save. But there was one other dialogue option when talking with Paladin Danse. And the dialogue differs slightly if we refuse to do it outright or if we agree to execute him and then refuse to do it. If we refuse to do it outright...
No, I won't do it, Danse.
I can't believe you'd risk your life just to keep me alive. Why would you do that for me?
But if we agree first and then refuse...
I can't do it, Danse. It's not right.
I can't believe you'd risk your life just to keep me alive. What's changed your mind?
What do you mean, risk my life?
If Maxson learns that you've disobeyed a direct order to save the life of a synth, he'd have you executed. Why would you risk that for me?
We find 3 orange charisma checks. Failing any of them leads to the same result, but passing each of them unlocks unique dialogue with Danse. So we'll first go through the failures, and then we'll go through the successes.
You're the proof that Maxson's wrong. You're a synth, but everything you've done has been for the good of mankind.
I can't accept that. I'm sorry.
You need to face this, Danse. Dying is the coward's way out.
If that's the way you feel about it, then so be it.
I've already lost my family. I don't want to lose my friend.
Well then, I'm sorry to disappoint you. I don't wish to debate this any longer. You've sworn an oath to destroy the Institute and every synth that you find. No exceptions. Consider this your greatest test, Knight. Do you have what it takes to get the job done?
With that, he kneels down in preparation to be executed. If we fail all 3 charisma checks, we either have to kill him ourselves at this point, or he'll kill himself. However, if we pass the charisma checks...
You're the proof that Maxson's wrong. You're a synth, but everything you've done has been for the good of mankind.
You're right. How could I have been so blind? I'm not technology that's gone out of control. I've been a benefit to mankind, not its downfall.
You need to face this, Danse. Dying is the coward's way out.
You're right. How could I have been so blind? I can't run away from what I am. To find peace, I need to face the fact that I'm my own worst enemy and live with the consequences.
I've already lost my family. I don't want to lose my friend.
You're right. How could I have been so blind? I should consider how my death might affect the people that care about me. People like you and Halen. Perhaps now that you've opened my eyes, I can consider my next move.
Well, consider it soon. You're supposed to be dead.
I think we both know how we can solve that problem.
Yeah, there is that little problem to deal with.
Actually, I might have a solution.
What's our next move?
You need to continue your fight against the Institute. I have my own path to follow.
Whatever you decide to do, I've got your back.
Thank you, my friend. But I have my own path to follow. The only clear choice is for me to leave the Commonwealth. The sooner I make for the border, the sooner I put this behind me. Take my holotags. Use them to prove that your mission was a success, or Maxson will just send someone else to hunt me down. Now, come on. Let's get the hell out of here.
With that, we get Dance's holotags, and we follow him out of the room. He walks to the elevator, we take it together, but upon arriving at the surface and heading outside...
How dare you betray the Brotherhood?
It's not his fault, it's mine.
I'll deal with you in a moment. Knight, why has this thing not been destroyed?
How did you find us?
When I sent you to execute this machine, I suspected you'd have difficulty following my orders. Now that I've arrived, it appears that my instincts were correct. What did it say to you that made you betray the Brotherhood? Why is it still alive?
He's not a thing. He's one of your best men.
Have you taken leave of your senses?
I refuse because your orders are ridiculous.
How dare you?
He's still alive because you're wrong about him.
Him! Danse isn't a man. It's a machine. An automaton created by the Institute. It wasn't born from the womb of a loving mother. It was grown within the cold confines of a laboratory. Flesh is flesh. Machine is machine. The two were never meant to intertwine. By attempting to play God, the Institute has taken the sanctity of human life and corrupted it beyond measure.
After all I've done for the Brotherhood, all the blood I've spilled in our name, how can you say that about
You're
me?
the physical embodiment of what we hate most. Technology that's gone too far. Look around you, Danse. Look at the scorched earth and the bones that litter the wasteland. Millions, perhaps even billions, died because science outpaced man's restraint. They called it a new frontier and pushing the envelope, completely disregarding the repercussions. Can't you see the same thing is happening again? You're a single bomb in an arsenal of thousands, preparing to lay waste to what's left of mankind.
You're comparing Danse to a nuclear bomb?
This machine might not be a bomb, but its goal is exactly the same. Place it where you want the damage done, and when you least expect it, it delivers a lethal blow without warning and without mercy. A precision strike delivered right at the heart of the enemy.
Danse shares the same beliefs as the Brotherhood.
Don't be so naive.
That's insane. He dedicated his life to protecting mankind.
Is that what it told you?
Danse wants to save mankind, not destroy it.
You're as delusional as you are insubordinate. How can you trust the word of a machine that thinks it's alive? A machine that's had its mind erased, its thoughts programmed, its very soul manufactured. Those ethics that it's striving to champion aren't even its own. They were artificially inserted in an attempt to have it blend into society.
It's true. I was built within the confines of a laboratory, and some of my memories aren't my own. But when I saw my brothers dying at my feet, I felt sorrow. When I defeated an enemy of the Brotherhood, I felt pride. And when I heard your speech about saving the Commonwealth, I felt hope. Don't you understand? I thought I was human, Arthur. From the moment I was taken in by the Brotherhood, I've done absolutely nothing to betray your trust, and I never will.
It's too late for that now. The Institute has foolishly chosen to grant you life. You simply should not exist. I don't intend to debate this any longer. My orders stand.
It's all right. We did our best. You convinced me that I was wrong to be ashamed of my true identity, and I thank you for it. Whatever you decide, know that I'm going to my grave with no anger and no regrets.
Touching. Either you execute Danse, or I will, Knight. The choice is yours.
If he dies, what happens to me?
Given the circumstances, I'd be willing to overlook this lapse in judgment. The fact that Dance's true nature was hidden from you isn't your fault. Now make your decision, or I will.
We have 3 choices. We could give in to Arthur's demand and execute him ourselves.
For the good of the Brotherhood. He needs to die.
Finally. You've come to your senses. You may proceed, Knight.
Arthur Maxson stands back, and Paladin Danse again kneels down with his hands behind his back. But this time, he won't talk to us.
You've done the right thing, Knight.
What about Dance's corpse?
We leave it here as a warning to the Institute. That nothing, not even their finest technology, can cloud our vigilance.
It's done. Let's move on now.
Agreed.
I followed your orders, but I still think it was wrong.
Then consider this a lesson to reflect upon as your service to the Brotherhood continues.
There was no other choice. The Brotherhood must come first.
Let your devotion to our cause be an inspiration to us all. I'm returning to the Prydwen, Knight. Take some time. Say your goodbyes. And then I expect to see you there. We still have the Institute to deal with.
With that, Maxson boards his vertibird and flies back to the Prydwen. And we can say our goodbyes. The second option is to refuse to kill him ourselves.
For the good of the Brotherhood, he needs to die. But I won't pull the trigger myself.
I'm disappointed in you, Knight. Stand aside.
Just make it quick.
With that, Arthur Maxson pulls out a combat knife and approaches Danse.
Disgusting machine. Let this serve as an example to the Institute.
Ad Victorium, brother.
I'm disappointed you weren't able to carry out Dance's execution on your own, Knight.
I'm sorry.
Don't apologize for your misgivings. Learn from them and grow. That's the mark of a true soldier.
I still think this was wrong.
Then consider this a lesson to reflect upon as your service to the Brotherhood continues.
He was my friend.
Which is the only reason I'm willing to overlook your lapse in judgment. I'm returning to the Prydwen, Knight. Take some time. Say your goodbyes. And then I expect to see you there. We still have the Institute to deal with.
And just like last time, he boards his vertibird and flies away. If we return to the Prydwen, Maxson has this to say.
Reporting is ordered, Elder.
Welcome back, Knight. I'm pleased to see that the incident at Listening Post Bravo hasn't shaken your spirit. We're poised on the brink of war with the Institute. And I can't afford to have anyone on my staff distracted by their personal feelings.
And from here on out, the quest resolves the exact same way as if we would have executed him the first time like we were supposed to. We get promoted to Paladin, and we get all of Dance's stuff. But there was one more option outside Listening Post Bravo, and that was to beg Maxson to listen.
After all the sacrifices I've made and all the battles I've fought for the Brotherhood, you need to listen to me. You owe me that much.
Very well. I'm listening.
Is it too late to change my mind?
Of course not, Knight. I realize this is difficult for you. So I'm willing to forgive your previous insubordination. Now either you execute Danse, or I will.
If we choose that option and go back to the previous dialogue tree, we lose our option to pass a charisma check and plead for his life.
Please. He deserves to live.
That time has already passed. Make your choice.
That leaves us with 3 chances to convince Maxson to spare Danse. Maxson has different responses for failing all 3 of these checks, and so like with the last one, we'll first go through the failures and then the successes.
Just listen to me. If I've earned any of your trust or respect while I've served with the Brotherhood, then I'd gladly trade it to keep Danse alive.
This machine isn't worth sacrificing the goodwill you've earned with the Brotherhood. He's your enemy.
If Danse dies, then you lose me as well. I can't stay in good conscience if his life means that little to you.
Your meager attempts at gaining my sympathy are becoming tiresome.
Whether he's human or not, Danse saved the lives of countless Brotherhood soldiers. Now it's time you saved his.
Danse was merely following the rules set up in its programming, to mimic a Brotherhood soldier. A real soldier's bravery comes from within, from his heart and his soul.
If we fail all 3 charisma checks, we lose our opportunity to save Dance's life. However, if we pass them...
Just listen to me. If I've earned any of your trust or respect while I've served with the Brotherhood, then I'd gladly trade it to keep Danse alive.
You value this machine's life that much?
If Danse dies, then you lose me as well. I can't stay in good conscience if his life means that little to you.
Unbelievable. You'd be willing to sacrifice your career for the sake of a machine?
Whether he's human or not, Danse saved the lives of countless Brotherhood soldiers. Now it's time you saved his.
You're a stubborn man. So, it appears we've arrived at an impasse. Allowing Danse to live undermines everything the Brotherhood stands for. Yet you insist that he remains alive, which leaves me with only a single alternative. Danse, as far as I'm concerned, you're dead. You were pursued and slain by this Brotherhood Knight, and your remains were incinerated. From this day forward, you are forbidden to set foot on the Prydwen, or speak to anyone from the Brotherhood of Steel. Should you choose to ignore me, know you'll be fired upon immediately. Do we understand each other?
I do. Thank you for believing in me, Arthur.
Don't mistake my mercy for acceptance. The only reason you're still alive is because of him. I'm returning to the Prydwen Knight. Take some time. Say your goodbyes. And then I expect to see you there. We still have the Institute to deal with.
With that, Maxson returns to the Vertibird and leaves for the Prydwen. But Danse is still alive, and we can talk to him.
Hi.
It took a hell of a lot of guts to stand up to Maxson like that.
So what are you gonna do now?
I've decided to stay here.
Friends take care of each other, no matter what.
That they do. Which is why I've decided to stay here.
Maybe you should leave while you can, before he changes his mind.
No. Maxson is a man of his word. As long as I stay out of the Brotherhood's way, he won't send anyone after me.
At least we know he isn't chasing you anymore. If you stay here, you should be safe.
That's an excellent suggestion. I didn't plan on spending the rest of my days at this old listening post, but it will have to do. Besides, you're still going to need my help, and I'll be damned if I'm going to let you wander the Commonwealth alone. Now, you better get back to the Prydwen. In the meantime, I'll start making this bunker more livable. If you ever need me, I'll be right here.
What about Halen?
I don't think Maxson knew she was involved, so she'll be safe. I'll contact her and let her know what happened here. It's the least I could do.
Are you gonna have a problem killing synths?
I might physically be a synth, but my heart and mind belong to the Brotherhood. The Institute is still a tremendous threat to the Commonwealth. They possess technologies that need to be confiscated or destroyed. I promise you, I won't hesitate to pull the trigger on them.
Can't you come with me now?
You heard what Maxson said. If I'm seen aboard the Prydwen, at the police station, or at the airport, not only would I be killed, I'd undermine his authority. I won't do that. But if you need me to take the fight anywhere else, I'll be there.
Goodbye, Danse.
Farewell. I hope the next time we meet, it will be under happier circumstances. I would gladly die if it meant one of my brothers would live.
And with that, former Paladin Danse walks back into his new home, listening post Bravo. Upon returning to the Prydwen, Maxson has this to say.
Reporting is ordered, Elder.
Before we continue, I want to make one thing clear. This conversation will be the last time we speak about Danse. As far as the Brotherhood of Steel is concerned, he's dead. Do you understand?
You're not gonna have him killed behind my back, are you?
I'm a man of my word, Knight. If he remains invisible to the Brotherhood of Steel, he has nothing to fear.
Understood.
Good.
I'll never understand it. But I'm not gonna mention him again.
Then consider this a lesson to reflect upon as your service to the Brotherhood continues.
Of course. The Brotherhood must come first.
Perhaps there's hope for you yet.
And from here, the conversation carries on as we've already explored. Despite failing Maxson literally at every opportunity during this quest, if we choose this outcome, we still become a paladin in his place, we still get his quarters, we still get his power armor. I again tracked down Halen to see if she had anything unique to say, and again, she just gave me her Radiant quest. But here also I remember that she had different dialogue if we spared Dance's life. Because remember, Danse said that he would reach out to Halen. So she's the only other person on Earth besides us who knows that Danse is still alive. And instead of being cold towards us if we kill Danse, she's warm and friendly towards us if we spare his life. But sadly, I wasn't able to capture that footage here. However, she makes an update in her personal terminal. Paladin Danse is still alive. I'm happy that our Vault Dweller friend took my advice and gave Danse a chance to tell his side of the story. Maxson's covering the whole thing up, putting Danse in exile and claiming that he's dead. He's also forbidden Danse to be revered as a hero. Whether he was a machine or not, his contributions to our cause should never be forgotten. I just hope that someday Maxson will realize he made the wrong choice and at least give Danse the proper memorial, quote-unquote, that he's due. For now, I'll just have to remain content with the fact that Danse is alive and leave it at that. If we head back to listening post Bravo, we see that the inside hasn't changed much at all. Danse said he was gonna clean the place up and move right in, but the top floor is still in disarray, and even arriving at the bottom floor, we see that it's a huge mess. However, moving through the hole in the wall to the little cave where we found the Yaogwai corpse, we see that Danse has changed a few things around here. There's some cabinetry, some supply crates, a power armor workbench, and then moving into the room where we confronted him, we see that he now has a bed. There's a duffel bag, a few pieces of furniture, and of course, some bottles of whiskey. The man likes his brown. The end of dungeon steamer trunk has respawned so we can loot it again, and instead of a suicide holotape, we find a stealth boy on this cabinet, giving us the impression that he regularly heads outside the bunker and uses stealth boys to get past Brotherhood patrols. And Danse himself has changed. No longer does he wear the Brotherhood's T-60. Somehow he has found himself a full suit of X01 power armor, and he's available to be our companion.
Paladin.
Ready to continue our mission, soldier?
That depends. How are you feeling?
I'm locked and loaded and ready to take on the enemy. When you're ready to go, I'm right behind you.
Ready.
Roger that.
Now, if we traveled with Danse a lot, it's likely that by the time Blind Betrayal becomes an active quest in our quest log, we will have reached a soft affinity cap with him. We wouldn't have been able to increase our affinity any further until after Blind Betrayal. And that's because his final round of affinity dialogue directly refers to the events of this quest. After completing Blind Betrayal, that soft cap is lifted, and so we really only need to do one thing that he approves of, like getting in and out of power armor, to maximize our affinity with Danse. And if we do, we unlock his final round of companion dialogue. I'll be covering all of this when I do my dedicated profile video on Danse, but I'm going to play this round of dialogue here because it refers specifically to this quest and how he's been processing his emotions now that he knows that he's a synth.
Hey.
If you have a moment, I have something personal I'd like to discuss.
Are you okay, Danse?
I'm sorry. I really thought this would be easier to talk about. There's so much I wanted to say, but I don't know where to start.
Sure.
Honestly, I don't even know where to begin. There's so much I wanted to say.
Not right now. I'm kind of busy.
Sure, I understand. Perhaps we'll speak later.
Sounds important. Go ahead.
It is important, but I don't even know where to begin. There's so much I wanted to say.
This has something to do with your true identity as a synth, doesn't it?
Believe it or not, it's deeper than that.
Well, take a deep breath and start from the beginning.
I'll try.
Easy. Or you might blow a gasket or something.
If you can put my synthetic nature aside for a moment, maybe you'll understand what I'm trying to tell you.
Take it easy, Danse. Whatever it is, I'll help you work through it.
I don't know if anything will help me work through it. I've spent my entire life, or at least what I perceive as my life, following a plan to shape my own future. But since my banishment, I feel lost. Almost like I exist without purpose. For the first time since that moment I signed up with the Brotherhood, I don't have all the answers. I don't have a plan, and it scares the hell out of me.
Do you really need a plan?
That's not the point.
What you've gone through would throw anyone for a loop. You're just confused.
You're damn right I'm confused. I'm a machine that thinks like a human, who was trained to hunt the very thing I've become.
It's impossible to plan your life. Hell, I didn't expect to wake up 200 years into the future.
Yet you've been able to roll with every punch that's been thrown at you.
You were a Brotherhood soldier, Danse. No fear, remember?
I was a soldier. Now I'm just a soulless machine. Don't you understand? Everything I had, everything I knew is gone. In the span of a few hours, my identity was ripped from me and my world turned upside down. At least what you had was something tangible, something real. Your wife, your son. They were living, breathing humans who loved you and cared for you. Those sons of bitches who created me couldn't even be bothered to implant memories of having siblings or parents. I don't even know how much of my own past is artificial and how much is real. Can you even imagine that? I started out as nothing, and I've ended up as nothing. And I don't know what the hell to do about it.
Didn't I already convince you that giving up was a mistake?
You did.
Hang in there, Danse. You need to fight this thing.
I'm not giving up. Not yet.
Snap out of it, Danse. Self-pity is just gonna make things worse.
Is it?
I'm truly sorry, Danse. I guess I never realized how deeply this affected you.
I appreciate that. I suppose you're right. Maybe I'm just missing the point. My life's starting over. And I need to come to terms with everything I've lost and everything I've gained, which includes something important you've made me realize. I don't know if it's friendship or an anomaly in my programming. After all, I'm not really human. But whatever it is, I can't deny that I'm feeling closer to you than anyone else I've ever met.
And here we find a variety of options to solidify our relationship with Danse, including the option to romance him, which I'll cover fully in my profile video. But for now, we'll just say thank you.
I'm flattered that you trust me with your feelings like this. Thank you.
You're welcome. If anyone deserves to know how I really feel, it's you. Look, I know that this has been difficult for you. In fact, I don't envy some of the recent decisions you've had to make. If our roles had been reversed, I'm not so sure I could have handled it as well as you did. Whatever the case may be, I just want to thank you for sticking by me and remind you that what I said before still stands. If you need me, I'll be here for you.
We gain Dance's affinity perk, and we can continue to use him as a companion, as long as we don't travel into any Brotherhood-occupied areas. Oddly enough, this includes the Cambridge police station and Scribe Halen. She, along with all of the soldiers there, will fire upon us and Danse if she sees us with him. And so for now, we'll head back to Sanctuary and pick up an old friend. Someone who really isn't on board with the Brotherhood, but is willing to go along with it for our sake.
Sir,
I trust you won't let any Brotherhood fellows salvage me for spare parts. Yes? May I accompany you, sir?
Yes.
Thank you, sir.
As if we didn't have enough problems without the damn Brotherhood making things worse.
Yikes! Garvey, tell us how you really feel. Now that we're a Brotherhood of Steel paladin, we need to finish things with the Institute. Maxson told us that Lancer Captain Kells wants to speak with us, and so we'll head back to the Prydwen and check in with him in my next episode. I publish new episodes in this series each and every week on my channel, so if you don't want to miss that episode, be sure to subscribe and to click that bell notification button. If you have already, but you still feel like you're missing out on YouTube notifications, consider following me on Twitter at Oxhorn. I update Twitter manually with every new piece of content that I publish. I've got a plush for sale. It's in stock and ready to ship, but quantities are limited and I'm almost sold out. If you want to make sure you get one before I am, snag one today. I've got a shirt shop with completely unique designs that you can't find anywhere else. My designs come on shirts in a variety of men's, women's, and children's sizes, and in a wide array of colors. You can find them on other items as well, like smartphone cases, pillows, posters, mugs, stickers, prints, etc. So if interested, you can find a link to my shop in the description below, or you can click here. If you like what I do and you want to support me in another way, consider becoming a patron on Patreon or a member here on YouTube. YouTube members get little badges that appear next to their names in the comments sections of my videos, and access to ox emojis that they can use in my video comments and in the live chats of my live streams. But more than anything, I'm just so glad you're here watching this video with me today. Thank you so much for watching, and I'll see you soon with the next episode in the full story of Fallout 4.
This must be the clinic's storage. Bloody impressive, wouldn't you say, sir?